All right, welcome to Uncultured, the movie podcast where you swear you'll write a joke, but it gets to recording time and you just don't have anything. I'm Cameron.
I'm Torsten.
Yeah, and we are back for one more month. Josh still away on his movie duties, making that money. More important than us.
I really want to insert that little dicky. Gotta make that money.
We cannot
Save
afford
that
those
money.
rights. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can't afford the rights to that, can we?
I tell you what, little Dicky, you can save money by not suing me because you're not going to get enough out of it to cover the legal costs. So today we are looking at The Shining. This is a movie I have not seen in my life. How about you, Torsten?
No. I've never really had any desire to watch it either. Like, besides that one scene that everyone's seen in, like, every meme ever. I don't have high hopes. So
Where they take an axe to the door and they scream, "Here's Johnny."
Yeah.
I only know that's a thing because in Mortal Kombat, there's a fatality where someone, like, rips someone in half, puts their head through and yells, "Here's Johnny."
That's just...
And I was like, what is this?
It's unnecessarily gory. That's what that is.
Welcome to Mortal Kombat.
I think we need to ban Mortal Kombat or something. Doesn't sound appropriate for children.
Get in a time machine, go back 10 years, you'll have really good luck with that one.
Yeah.
So, I guess we're going to go on a little bit of a tangent because here's what I understand from this movie. I saw Ready Player One.
Oh, yeah?
Basically, you put scientists in a lab and you tell them to design a movie that will really, really kill me. It's this. It is a mix of pop culture over several decades, most of which I'm not alive for, the rest of which I have not watched, and it was just a long, long list of references to things.
I really want to go see it. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, just for that fact that it sounds like a movie where what does this generation do? We all meme, we're all into pop culture. Let's make a movie which is literally about a bunch of teenagers memeing online.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it, but at one point it does kind of look like the studio went down a list of the properties they owned and went, yeah, we'll put that one in, that one in, that one in, that one in.
I've heard about that thing. There's like a fight scene where it's like, yeah, let's just bring in the Serenity and let's bring in like the T-Rex and shit from Jurassic Park and just like everything they own, let's just throw it in there for that one scene.
And spoilers for the next, I guess. I'll give you a time code. So basically what happens in the middle of this is the best part of the movie for me, was they went to the house in The Shining and it was, they played it up a lot. They're like, oh, it's the exact same house. It's got the same creepy girls. The thing that made this section worth it for me is there was a 7-year-old in the movie and he was crying. He was screaming. He ran out of the theater and his dad just kind of slowly walked after him like, I can't believe my life has come to this. So, the things I know from The Shining all come from this movie, which is a mishmash. So, I'm not sure how many of them actually have their roots in The Shining and how many were other things mixed in. But it's a creepy house. There are keys. There is a woman in a shower. There is, River of Blood, I think, at one point.
Okay. Everything I know about this film comes from reading cracked articles about how messed up as a person Stanley Kubrick was and the horrible things he did to actors, and that one episode of The Simpsons where they parodied it. Got some high hopes based on Homer's impersonation of Jack Nicholson's character.
So I think this is a horror movie, I would assume, from, the River of Blood and the fact that the cover has the word horror themes on it.
I'm just going to throw this out there while we're looking at this. Like, I'm never watching The Birds with you.
Why
I've tried to watch that film like 4 times, and the pacing of that film, like I can't stand it.
What is The Birds?
Like, it's another film, it's a cult classic, whereas it was an amazing horror film back then about, for some reason, all the birds want to kill all the humans or something, but like, there's like this really creepy scene that's parodied where like someone walks outside and there's just like fucking birds everywhere.
Is this an Australian movie? Because I think we're the only country where you literally walk outside and birds are like, nah, I've got you, mate. I've got you.
No, it's not Australian. It's American. But yeah, that's such an Australian experience. And maybe that's why I don't find it that scary and it's really boring. I'm like, this is a typical springtime in Australia.
Yeah, like I got swooped by magpies 10 minutes ago, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
I actually haven't been successfully swooped by a magpie yet. One tried and missed. And the second one, I turned around mid-swoop, stared him in the eyes, and he just bailed. He bailed out of his dive.
Well, yeah, that's what they're meant to do. If you stare them in the eyes, they're like, oh shit, you're gonna kill me. When I was like 8 or something, we were riding to school with my brother, and we met this like crazy magpie. What it did was like, it chased him for like a block, landed on his helmet, and just pecked a hole in his forehead. It was insane. Like, my mom had to like chase after him and then like hit it with a stick to get it off him, because it wouldn't back down.
So what you're telling me is if they need to make a remake of The Birds, they know who to hire as consultant, right?
Yeah, just replace whatever they were in that movie, which was like pigeons or seagulls, like replace it with magpies, and it would be like, this is a real life documentary of what magpies are like. They'll swarm you, they'll peck holes in your head, they'll rip your eyes out.
So back from the spoilers, I feel like a bit of a hypocrite criticizing Ready Player One for being a list of references, because I recently saw Infinity War. References from different movies and power sets and characters. If you haven't seen the other 18, you won't understand much of this movie at all.
I disagree with you there.
Okay.
Because I took Smater to go see it, who has seen Avengers 1 and he's seen Guardians of the Galaxy, and the film still made perfect sense except for when Vin showed up. He was like, who the fuck are these guys?
Alright, so you're saying with passing knowledge of 2 movies, you can do okay.
Yeah, he still loved it. And I think that's the important difference between Ready Player One and Avengers, from what I can tell. It's like that it's still a cohesive, good movie with pop culture references thrown in.
I agree with you. I think Marvel had more substance to it for me.
I don't think it's hypocritical to have seen both of them and say Avengers does it really well with its own cohesive movie unit, which is built on its own universe, making pop culture references because they live in that universe, versus Ready Player One, which unintentionally I think is a very accurate portrayal, from what I've heard, of what it would be like if the internet was allowed to just have its own universe, where it would just be non-stop pop culture references, but that, you know, it's poorly done.
My dad, I asked him afterwards, I said, that wasn't a very good movie, was it? And he's like, it's fantastic. Did you see? And the first things he said was not like storyline, not characterization. He's like, I saw this character I know from the 80s. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, all right, good movie.
You know, it's cool when you see a movie that's got pop culture references, but it just can't withstand the test of time when it's like, yeah, cool, I already know there's a bunch of pop culture references in there. I remember them. I remember the things they referenced. There's no value in me rewatching this film now.
So now that we've gone on our little The Shining inspired tangent, it might be time for...
Snack of the week!
Yeah. Okay, so snack of the week. The way this works is that one of us usually has seen the movie, and so we'll bring in themed snacks. So because neither of us have seen this movie, it's going to be not themed, not pun-based, nothing like that. And apologies to people for last month. We had audio issues, we lost the entire segment. Snacks were good though. All right, so first we have the drink. You're going to put your hand out. It's a cup. It's got a handle. Excellent.
Okay, what is it? Can I hear? Is it?
You can hear it if you like.
It is evanescent.
Hold on. Did you just say it is evanescence?
Yes, it's evanescence. I got it first try.
Save me.
I'm trying to remember what the lyrics are. Anyway, okay, so it sounds like evanescence. It smells like some sort of fruity tea, maybe. I think it's going to be tea again, isn't it?
One way to find out.
Grape drink?
No. Would you like another guess?
Like, I know these flavors, but I feel like I don't want to just list random fruits, but is there some pear in there? Is it apple and... It's going to be apple and cranberry, isn't it? Because that's blood colored.
You are really close. It is just straight cranberry.
Ah, gross.
River of blood. All right.
No.
Snack of the week is, it is just blood.
Yeah, it's just...
We've added gelatin. It is USDA approved for consumption.
Oh, great.
So, I'm going to hand you this, and you're going to have to deal with what this is.
Okay.
Snack of the week.
It's something chocolate based. I'm pretty sure it's a Kit Kat. Or a Kit Kat knockoff. Well, it's certainly a Kit Kat knockoff or a Kit Kat itself.
What flavors do you taste?
It tastes like a regular Kit Kat to me.
You can open your eyes. Cookies and cream Kit Kat.
Oh, that makes sense. Fair enough. I'll take the blood.
Yeah, you can have your little cranberry juice back. You seem really excited to get that. So, snack of the week. Kit Kat, cookies and cream. Drink of the week.
So why is it Kit Kat?
What
What is the tangential relationship?
I told you these were non-pun based.
Oh, okay.
But, if there were to be a pun, it's a visual pun.
Cameron's cracking the Kit Kat.
Here's Johnny.
Oh my god. You did not just stick your head between two Kit Kats and say, here's Johnny. I'm done with this podcast. I'm getting up and leaving.
You made me. All right, so with that fantastic reception for these snacks, which you're clearly very invested in eating, let's move on to the movie. All right, so that was The Shining. That was, what do you think?
I was a shiny example of why I don't watch old films. No, it wasn't actually that bad. I just wanted to say that pun.
I was surprised because usually with horror movies, they spend a lot of time setting it up and there's a lot of tension and then the game's on, right? I don't really feel like the game got on.
Yeah, not really. Like I was telling Cameron, the list of Stanley Kubrick, Stephen King conflicts. One of them was the casting of Jack Nicholson and the critique that because Jack Nicholson played Jack, rather than him being sort of like this everyman who sort of has descended to madness, he kind of just comes across as a creepy motherfucker the whole time.
Yeah, he seems to have confused being crazy with just sticking your tongue out a lot for good portions of this movie. Yeah, it seems like... So we'll cover the story in greater depth in a second, but it seems like towards the end, where I'd usually expect them to really double down and everything's haunted and everything's going on, there's sort of a couple special effects scenes and 2 tiny bits of blood. It's not really the all-encompassing horror.
Well, this is the thing. It's like, I feel like it would be quite a scary set of things if it wasn't for the fact that, like, Jack Nicholson's character goes hard and hits a plateau really early on of being this really... like massive douchebag who's like, I'm being a dick to everyone. So rather than it seeming like he gets possessed and becomes more and more creepy, he just becomes a dick like in the first act and then stays a dick for the rest.
I guess it's kind of fitting that we've got thunder in the background. I'm not sure if it's coming through, but you know, nice mood setting.
Yeah.
So this movie, if we run through really quick the basic story, there's a writer who's taking a job at a hotel where they don't operate during the winter and they need someone there to keep everything in tip-top shape, right? Because the snow causes damage, all that. They spend, was it 5 months they were going to spend there?
It's effectively the version of, you know, we leave our heaters on while we're out partying, except they need someone to do it for 5 months, you know. You don't want to leave the heater on because it might burn down, but if someone's there, and you can leave the heater on.
Yeah. And he goes, all right, this will be cool. I can write my novel. It'll be fantastic. I'll bring my family up, my wife and my son. And when he gets there for the interview, the guy says, oh, look, just a couple things we forgot to mention. So a couple years back, the guy who was doing a job went crazy, killed both his daughters and his wife, just so you know. And he said, it's fine. I don't scare easy. We're good. And when the family gets there to have a tour around, there's the cook.
Who I gotta add here is like, was a black stereotype. He had the accent, he said the, you know, bordering on, I feel like, racist stereotype things. You know, I feel like the whole name The Shining feels contrived in this, where he's like, this is what my grandpappy called it.
Yeah, that was such a weird scene early on where he basically takes the kid aside and he's like, hey, look, I know you're a mind reader because I can read minds also. It's fantastic.
That scene really irked me when I watched it because he was like, oh, like you think something bad's gonna happen down here in this hotel. What do you think's gonna happen? I'm like, fair enough, he doesn't know the future. The kid's like, oh, I'm gonna mention the room that people were murdered in. And he's like, oh, don't talk about that room. You literally were having a conversation about like, we both see the future, we both have premonitions. Have you had any bad feelings? And then it's just like, oh no, don't talk about that. And it's like so clearly, you know, like, yeah, bad shit's gonna happen. So I feel like he should have just been like, yeah, that room's haunted as fuck, man.
Don't go
like,
there.
Don't go there.
Yeah, because this little kid, they're saying, oh, we called it The Shining. You can see in the past, you can see in the future, you can read people's minds. Oh, you're very special. You're a powerful kid.
Have some ice cream.
Have some ice cream. And so the entire hotel staff leaves, and it's just the 3 of them. Jack Nicholson.
His character's also called Jack.
Yes, Jack and Jack Nicholson. His wife and the little kid.
Yeah, wife is Wendy, the kid, I can't remember what his real name was, but it was Doc or something.
Yeah, and they have these weird, like, nonsensical time cuts. So they'll put up a screen and they'll say, 1 month later, and you go, okay, that's important information. And then halfway through a scene, it'll say, Wednesday. And you're like, is it Wednesday for any particular? Saturday. all right, so it's the weekend, 4 p.m. What do you mean? Why?
Yeah, no, like, it was this odd, like, thing where it's, like, usually they're consistent time skips. Whereas this was like, yeah, we just want you to know it's a different day, different time now.
So, like, slowly people start freaking out a little bit. The kid's got his little plastic tricycle. He's riding around the hotel. He's seeing these twin girls who are kind of creepy. At one point, he sees them murdered. He gets flashbacks. The main guy is writing. He's not writing anything good. He can't think of anything. He's getting frustrated. He's yelling at people.
Blaming his wife.
Yeah. And she seems like a fantastic wife. She's supportive. She's cooking really good food from the look of it.
And then this is again a problem I have with the way the film sets this up. It's like, rather than having this really happy marriage, it's like we don't know much about their marriage, and then we start seeing him be a dick, and we just assume they were always in an abusive relationship rather than what it's meant to be, which is they were normal, very happy people in this amazing marriage, and then they come to the hotel and everything starts going wrong because the hotel's like corrupting Jack's character.
And so slowly he gets more and more crazy and he starts yelling at things, threatening people. So the kid's got this imaginary friend who's warning them, right? It's part of his psychic powers, and he's saying, don't go to the hotel. And every time he's talking to this imaginary friend, he puts on this weird little kid Batman voice where he's like, it's a terrible place, go there.
You know, it sounds like a goblin.
And here's something, this is why dramatic tension doesn't work now, because there was a scene where the little kid's walking around muttering to himself with a knife, and he goes, red rum, and it's building to something. I turn around 10 seconds in, Torsten's on Google, like, Googling the word, and he's like, oh, it means murder. And 10 seconds later when they reveal it, we're all just sitting here like, we know, Google told us, thanks.
I was thinking about that as I did it. Like, I mean, like, days gone by, I would have been like, I really want to know what this means. It's so getting so tense. Instead, yeah, like, I sit in films and I'm like, I've mentioned this word a bunch of times now. I really want to know what it means. I'm bored of this. What does it mean?
Red rum spelled backwards, murder.
Yeah.
Eventually, Jack goes crazy, chases them with an axe. They manage to escape, and he freezes alone, right?
In the maze, yeah.
Outside, in the maze, in the snow. At some point, the cook comes back, and you think he's going to save them, but he catches an axe to the chest. Really quick.
Again, kind of, you know, defeating the point of having mystical telepathy, mind-reading powers, that he's like, oh, I must fly across the country to go save them in the hotel. And as soon as he turns up, he's just like, hey, anyone here? I totally don't think there's anything dangerous in this hotel.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to get blindsided in a lobby, right? How open is that room?
Yeah.
How is he jumping out of behind a column with an axe and getting enough distance on you to get you unaware?
I just can't see any reason why in America you'd go to a creepy ass hotel in the middle of nowhere and be like, yeah, I don't think I'll take my gun with me or anything, or any kind of weapon lest something happens.
Yeah, that seems like a really, really poor choice.
You know, given how much murder has occurred in this hotel, like, you don't have to be a person with The Shining to be like, maybe I should bring a weapon to the creepy ass hotel in the middle of nowhere that totally needs help.
So, to a certain extent, this kind of felt like people staring off camera the movie. There'd be a lot of scenes of people just staring slightly off center into the camera, and you go, what are they looking at? Because that's the natural tension. And then they just take too long. It's just people reacting for 15 seconds at a time, and you go, okay, to what?
This film is great for reaction gifs. So many weird facial expressions. So many confusing things where it's like someone's just, staring at the camera making a crazy face or something. Lots of Jack Nicholson randomly flicking his tongue out.
Oh, man.
You know, like, most of, like, the later scenes of him flicking his tongue out and stuff, I was like, oh, he's crazy. But that first scene when she walks into the room to give him his breakfast, and he's like, I just want to check my tongue in the mirror on the other side of the room.
The other thing about this movie, right, is it's set in the past, so there's all this old technology. They've got, like, the physical switchboard for phones. They've got ham radios. Do you know what made me realize the most it was in the past?
What?
When the cook flies in, look at all the leg room he has. It's insane. What is this man doing? For reference, I'm 6'5", so I'm not a huge fan of airplane.
Yeah.
So, how does this match up to what you gained from watching The Simpsons and all that?
I was gonna say, I feel like I actually got a better experience watching the episode of The Simpsons parodying this, because I got the exact same plot with more jokes in about a half-hour episode of The Simpsons as I did in a 2.5 watching of this film.
Okay, that's a definite positive for you, Kubrick.
I respect Kubrick. I love his attention to detail. You know, there's lots of really cool things about this film, and I respect that, but I could have just as easily watched the episode of The Simpsons and gotten the exact same plot and just saved me a lot of time.
I guess the one other thing, right? The famous saying is, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Is that from the book / movie, or is that from somewhere else?
No, that's from the book.
Okay, I finally understand why people keep saying this.
Yeah, no, like, this is the origin of that meme. Or
I like how we're calling all sayings memes now. Very kind of out of nowhere uses of the N-word in this movie.
Again, like, it was written in a past time, looking back at a past time when, you know, just the idea of a black man coming into your hotel and messing up your murder plans. Like, that was just real offensive back then, you know? And so just, it merited using some really offensive language, you know? Because you also have to remember the butler is, like, from the 1920s at that point.
So, did it seem obvious to you that a lot of these were just normal scenes that would have been completely fine and they just put whistles in to try and add tension to it?
Yes.
Or horns? There's just someone sitting there in a room drinking their coffee and it goes, whoa. You're meant to feel tension.
I feel like old creepy music is also a lot creepier now because it's not only creepy music of that time, but it's creepier because it's all on, like, synthetics and stuff that are so alien to me today.
The weird thing for me to get used to also is the older movies have the static, like the permanent static
Yeah,
from the audio.
yeah.
Altogether, would you recommend someone watch this if they haven't seen it before?
Look, I feel go with the same suggestion as everyone else goes with. It's just like I think it's a cult classic. I think it's an origin of a lot of memes or tropes, but I wouldn't watch it for the sake of, watching. It's interesting. It's like going to a history museum. Like, it's cool to look at old technology and stuff and see how people did stuff and see it's a milestone and stuff. But it's like, I wouldn't go to a cinema to watch this film. Like, it's not a gripping piece of plot. It's like, this is a time capsule of, some really cool moments in movie history.
Yeah, I kind of feel like not a lot happened. Because I think I'm more used to now, because back in the day, not all the stories had been told, right? So now, when you have a story like this, it has to have more layers to it. It has to have more things going on behind the scenes.
It needs to have at least 18 films setting up for it, with individual just plugging Avengers again.
Go see that movie; it'll break your heart. But it seems like this movie, comparatively to some of the newer movies, just doesn't have a lot going on.
Yeah, and I feel like part of that, good segue into something I was going to talk about, was that basically like Stephen King and Stanley Kubrick entered this together and were like, yeah, it's going to be awesome, and then like, a month in or something, Stanley Kubrick was like, fuck you, Stephen King, I hate your book, I don't like the way anything's done, I'm just going to dumb shit down, or I'm going to change it. And I feel like in that sense, in comparison to other Stephen King books that have been adapted, like a lot of the nuance is lost. And so rather than it being this really gripping sort of psychological mindfuck, it's just not a very exciting film. Like, not a lot is going on. It's not going to enough deeper levels of being like, what's going on?
So you're saying there might be more to it in the book?
I think, based on like my sleuthing on the internet in the past, because I've read a lot about Stanley Kubrick's movies, that I think the book Stephen King wrote was a lot better than the movie.
I'm still not sure I'm going to read the book.
No, I'm not going to go read it.
Yeah.
I guess, like, look at it. Like, that is a great adaptation of the book, and people still think it's not good enough. But it's like, that's a really terrifying film, or that's a really well-complexed psychological film.
The original one or the new one?
Both. But, I've done a lot of bashing on Stanley Kubrick, and even though I think he's a pretty fucked up person, I think, like, his attention to detail is pretty impressive. In other films, like, weird inconsistencies, like, a door that goes into a room that obviously blocks a window you've seen in another scene, normally it'd be like, shitty direction, whereas, like, the Stanley Kubrick intentionally makes the, like, inside of the hotel disorientating and confusing and nonsensical, and basically it's just like, Ghost did it, but I did that intentionally. And I'm like, I respect that.
I could definitely recognize some of the stuff from Ready Player One. Boo. A lot of the...
Let's not talk about the woman in the bathtub. That was an emotional roller coaster I don't want to revisit. I got so excited and then so disgusted. So kudos to you there, Stanley Kubrick. Now, a fun fact about the feud between Stanley Kubrick and Stephen King is originally Jack's VW is red and the snowmobile is meant to be yellow. And then Stanley Kubrick intentionally, or supposedly intentionally, swapped the colors of them to, like, spite Stephen King. But then also added, when the cook's driving to the hotel, he drives past a red VW that's been crushed by semi-trailer thing. And apparently, like, that's not in the book at all. And it was just added because Stanley Kubrick was like, fuck you, Stephen King. So when Stephen King was writing The Shining, he wrote it as a sort of semi-autobiographical book where, he actually started going insane. Like, not killing his family insane, but like, started having mood swings and stuff and became an alcoholic, and that he drove a red VW at the time, which is why he added the red VW in the book.
There you go. Yeah, I guess there are a couple references that we've explained to you now, so you don't need to see the movie. I'm not sure I'd really recommend you go watch the movie. One of the funniest parts of this movie to me was after the daughter and son get away, Jack just sort of sits down outside and it jump cuts to him frozen like Captain America.
They'll bring him back for the Avengers.
That's it, they'll throw him off.
Probably.
Hold on, that was a fantastic joke. How dare you? Final thoughts. How many Johnnies are here?
How many Johnnies are here?
Out of 5.
Honestly, just because it's classic, I give it 3.75 Johnnies out of 5.
I think you're being nice to it because it's well respected. I'll give it 2.5 Johnnies out of 5 because I feel like it kind of wasted my time a lot at the start.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I also feel like, again, looking at the box we were talking about, like this box knows you're watching the movie for this one scene and it's going to push that hard.
Yeah, the box is just kind of a shot of him sticking his head through the door after he axes it in and yells, "Here's Johnny." So I guess that's about all there is, right?
Yeah. Sorry, looking at the back of the box, the facial expressions of Jack Nicholson there.
You've been telling me a little bit about this feud between Stephen King and Stanley Kubrick. Who do you think won in the end?
Honestly, I think Stephen King won in the end because, like, Stanley Kubrick got the upper hand because he had rights to film adaptations of the book. And then Stephen King had to be like, "Oh, I'm going to stop bagging you out as a person if you'll let me make my own BBC miniseries." But then, like, after Stanley Kubrick died, Stephen King was like, "Well, he's dead now, so I can shit-talk him again." So the fact that Stephen King's still alive and still shit-talking Stanley Kubrick, I think Stephen King won.
May I present Exhibit A? Here's the DVD case. Count how many times Stanley Kubrick's name's on the front.
2?
How many times is Stephen King's name on the front?
None.
Let me look at the back. Once more, how many times is Stanley Kubrick's name on the back of this?
Does it mention Stephen King? There's Stephen King on the back, though, based on a novel.
So we have 2 on the front, 1 on the side, 1 on the back for Stanley Kubrick, and 1 for Stephen King in very small writing.
I'd also like to point out again, like, on the back, when it introduces Jack Nicholson, it's Jack Nicholson, "Here's Johnny." They know, they're pushing it hard, that's why you're watching this film.
So there is the cult classic, which means it lost a lot of money.
Is it even a cult classic? Like, I've been saying that word liberally, but I feel like it might have actually been successful at some point.
Oh, it made money? No cult classic. No cult classic.
No, I think it actually made money.
I think that's about everything for this episode. All right. If you want to get in contact with the show, you can email us at unculturedpod@gmail.com or find us Uncultured Codcast.
Codcast. We're a fishing show now.
Or find us at Uncultured Podcast on Facebook. Until next time, see you in room 237. Cameron out.
Torsten out.